And as we've been hearing from Tarek, hospitals in Gaza are overwhelmed while running low on supplies. Medical staff are depending on generators as Israel cuts off electricity. Omar Najjar is a doctor in Khan Yunis. He explains the conditions they're working under.
I am Omar Najjar. I am 24-year-old. I am from Khan Yunis. I am working as a doctor in the emergency room in Nasser Medical Complex. I'm originally from Khuza'a in the east of Khan Yunis. It's a border village that has been threatened and destroyed in the first days of this war. So my family is interned displaced to Bani Suhaila. Personally, I am here 24 hours. I'm starting my day with the first airstrike in the morning. We run to the emergency room, and we are directly managing the patients. And many times we are asking if those patients are of our relatives or not our relatives. So many times we can see our close friends, our close members of our family in the emergency room. I left my family in a building that contains more than 7 families. In the third day of the war, the next building of their house totally destroyed. I find my cousins here in the emergency room. I can't manage how can I act in these situations. My family and my brothers, my sisters, and my fathers are in unsafe locations. Here in the hospital, we have officially informed by the manager in the hospital that we will run off electricity, run off electricity within 48 hours or maybe less. Today, I'm going to stitch some patients. I can't find the stitches. I can't find the gauze. So we are working with what we are find in front of our eyes. More than 30,000 people who are also taking this hospital as a home or as a place inside it. So this also may be a barrier for our work inside the hospital. I can't describe what we are dealing. I have lived here in Gaza more than 4 wars, but this is the most worst war. We can't find minutes or seconds to sit and to take a rest. From 8 a.m. until now, we did not sit. And I did not take a breakfast or anything or even the lunch. So to the whole world, please stop this war.
Let's bring in Sarah Khairat, who joins us live from occupied East Jerusalem. Sarah, what's happening where you are?
Yeah, well, we're on day 7 since the Hamas attack, and those rockets still continue to come over from Gaza into Israel. Around 9 o'clock, which is about 3 hours ago, local time, a huge amount of rockets are said to have hit southern as well as central Israel. Of course, the Iron Dome seems to have intercepted most of those, but it was targeting Tel Aviv, which is a regular target since this all kicked off. Now, it's also showing, and the military are talking about now that we're in the second phase. They said the Israeli army is moving forward with their plan. They've definitely not been ruling out. They've actually come out and said that a ground, sea and air offensive is going to be happening. It's really a case of when rather than whether it's going to happen. Of course, all this time there's been debates as to whether there would be boots on the ground entering Gaza. But there's also been a statement from the head of the National Security Council when he was asked whether there will be any potential negotiations with Hamas over those that have been kidnapped and taken across into Gaza. And he said that's definitely not the case. There's no negotiations, current negotiations, and they have no plans for that because they don't want to be negotiating with Hamas that they say is insistent and persistent on continuing attacks on Israelis, including citizens, of course. So there definitely is a huge mobilization that is still continuing. The Israeli military has been securing that southern border. Press, including ourselves, have been pushed back to lay the grounds, if you like, for that ground defensive. Emily?
Sarah, what's the mood like among the people that you speak to on the ground? Is it a mood of tension? Is it a mood of fear? Is it a mood of, or are people even taking to the streets at all?
It has been very quiet for the most part, with Israelis and Palestinians staying at home mostly, people waiting out to see what happens next. People are glued to their TVs, following every movement. We have seen Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visit earlier this evening. He went to see those troops on the border, to rally the troops, if you like, to reassure them that they are there to work in unity. He is there to support them. And he's also been having those regular conversations, of course, with Israel's biggest ally, the US, with President Joe Biden. They spoke for a fifth time in these last 7 days, and he reiterates the same thing, that he wants to thank them for their support. He said that he was grateful and thankful to the US Secretary of Defense to come and visit, as well as the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who very much they stood together and showed a show of unity on Friday. He's also having conversations with many other leaders, including European leaders, who are still showing a huge support to Benjamin Netanyahu. However, despite all of this and despite that show of unity, there have been, for the first time since all of this happened, protests that took place in Tel Aviv from family members of those that are still missing, Israeli citizens that are still missing in potentially in Gaza, where they are demanding answers from the government. They held a presser. They said they still want to know what is the next step, what does the country plan to do, and they're feeling left on the sidelines without any ability to understand what's going to happen to those family members. Of course, we have more than 100 Israeli citizens that were taken across as captives into Gaza, and the fate of many of those is still unknown. And they have also been pushing, some of them speaking to us, saying that they want to ensure that that safe passage into Egypt does take place, with relief efforts to come in for some of those, for the people of Gaza, because they are concerned, of course, that if nothing is done instantly or soon, at least, by the Israeli government to bring back their family members, then they could potentially be killed in those attacks.
Palestinian fighters in living memory. The Israeli army is massing heavy weaponry and thousands of troops on the Gaza border. Artillery batteries have been pounding the densely populated Palestinian territory. Airstrikes have completely destroyed entire neighborhoods in Gaza. Hamas fighters continue to fire rockets into Israel. Most are intercepted by Iron Dome. More than 300,000 Israeli army reservists have been mobilized ahead of a possible operation, and morale seems high.
We will win.